It's Gadget UK here again, back for part 6 of the GB8 1000 replacement board build. In the previous video we left things at a point where the board was booting and stuff, but it was a little bit unstable, couldn't get IDE working. We were missing an F521 to use the onboard IDE. The mouse was working in Workbench with Kickstart, but not with Diagram or Logica. Over a period of time it starts to reboot, and the resets seem to get more frequent. But we are still missing some parts on the board, just a few resistor arrays, a couple of the smaller ICs and a few resistor packs. I don't know, I'm wondering a few things here. I put the auto config jumper back on there just to disable the slot, and I removed the buffers from here just in case, the IDE just in case. I'm thinking the fast RAM might be the issue here. I actually think what we should do is remove these gals here. First of all, let's just try it without that one, because I think that one's going to do nothing. But I could be wrong, because it's all ones. Maybe it's outputting a high somewhere, which means the flash ROM gets selected. No, it's booting now, so it certainly doesn't need that one. But I figure let's remove these ones, because this might be doing the auto config for the RAM, because Diagram is detecting 8 meg from 0 to 0, and that on its own could be a problem. The fact it's got a 0 to 0 range, I don't know. I'm just curious to see what can we remove and what will it work without. Basically, there is a bit of risk there that something could be floating an input or something if you've not got all the chips you need. Yeah, see, like now that's not booting, so we do need some of these here. This is not all just about the RAM. Anyway, we've got that one out. I don't think that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. We'll try without it, just see if the menu works. I'm trying to get the mouse working with Diagram. It's not working with the Diagram. Is it just this missing resistor array here? There's something finicky about Diagram, and because that resistor array is not there, it's not able to detect input properly. I don't know. But it is boot without that right hand gal. Yeah, look, we've got no input. Oh, we can't connect to keyboard, that's so annoying. Yeah, the weird thing is I'm not understanding, it's in chip RAM 2 meg, so it knows this 2 meg chip RAM, yeah, but then you come out of here and quit out, and after booting to the desktop we've got, as you can see at the moment, 441k. Well, what's using all the chip RAM? How have we got 2 meg but we haven't got 2 meg? I don't quite understand that behaviour. Probably going to come up unable to allocate shadow mem or something. But yeah, there you go. We're so crippled at the moment, aren't we? Because it's like I can use the mouse here, I can't use the mouse with Diagram. We've got 2 meg of RAM, chip RAM that is, but it doesn't come up on normal boot. Why? Well, that's just weird. And we're not getting any errors or anything. Alright, it's a little bit, let's say, not the stablest, depending on what you're doing with the IDE. Like with this compact flash card, it seems, no, look, it's gone. It's rebooted. So, what is going on? I don't understand what's going on. And they've got software failure, look, we can't click. That's the same issue with Diagram. That makes me think it's just that resistor array that's missing. I think we need that resistor array there. I think the controller is not being polled right. And that might be some of the issues here, but that won't really explain the 2 meg down to 1 meg. So I'm still waiting for that 521, but just having a look at it. It looks just like the 688 magnitude comparator. It's got the same bleeding pin out and everything. And, well, there's a chance I might be able to fit a 688 there. If I've got one, I've got one spare here somewhere. There we go, HCT 688. Let's stick that on there and just give it a try. I'll obviously need to fit the other chips. I'm just curious to see. I've been wondering about that all along, actually. Ever since I worked out what the part was that I needed, I'm like, that looks just like a 688. There must be a difference. Why we'd have, hang on, 2 different things that do the same thing, I don't know, with different part numbers. So there must be a difference, but the pin-outs are exactly the same. It looks, for all intents and purposes, like it should work. You've got a pin that gives you your match, you know, your high or low. It might just be a case of whether it's open collector or not, but that's going to be driving some of the logic here, nothing else on the Amiga. And its input is going to go to the address bus, and the output is, well, the side that's doing the compare on. If you sort of, you know, you've got two, you've got pins that are hardwired inputs, and then you've got the address bus, and that's just an input anyway. So do you know what? There's no reason why that shouldn't work, unless the inputs, the output is inverted or something, or maybe even the inputs are inverted. Maybe there's a difference there. I haven't checked that, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like a 688 would work there. Can't honestly know. I can't work out, let's say, why. There's a different part number. Why have you got two of the same sort of things doing exactly the same things in the same family of ICs? It just seems a little bit bizarre to me. So I'm just going to power it like that. Put my finger here. Make sure everything's the right way up here. And is that in right? Yeah. And just see what happens. Right, that's booting. I'm going to switch back to Kickstart just to see what's, because you know it's Logica at the moment actually. Just see if we get an auto config error. Yeah, we didn't, so that's actually solved the problem. One way or another, nothing's hot here. I reckon that's going to work. I reckon a 688 will work there. So let's connect this up. Now this is going to need power because, well, I think, let's just try it without that in, just see if the LEDs come on. No, they don't. So that is going to need power, so let me just pull a power cable over to that. I want to see if the, mind you, the onboard IDE needs the ROM, so I'm going to need to go and program a ROM up. Let's see if I've got power LEDs here. Yeah, there we go. So if I go and get a boot ROM for this, I'll be right back. Right, so here I am with the IDE AT bus ROM. It was a slightly earlier version than the current Ripple ROM, but it's one that I know works on the AT bus. Anyway, we've got our 27C512, and I quadrupled the 128K image, which I'd created from a quadrupled 32K image. So let's get that on and switch it on and see what happens. The main thing is to see if it boosts to start with. Yeah, so that's given us the Kickstart screen. Let's now stick compact flash cards and see what happens. I don't know whether it's going to work or not. You see, the ROM image here was 32K, I think. But it's written to a 512K chip. I don't know whether LIDE is going to work with this IDE. We don't even know whether that 688 is right. It's not doing anything. Is it because auto boot's disabled? Let's pull the jumper off. That might be the disabled jumper. Oh, it's flashed. It's flashed to look to the card. So, I'd be interested to see if this works. Flashed again. Because it's using Ripple driver, you know, Ripple line. It's booting, I think. That was an extended flash. Look for the floppy drive, I think. Flashing, flashing, flashing. It's booting! Yes! So it's using Ripple, and we're using the 688 that just happens to have. It's so annoying when you order a chip, and then you realise, oh, I didn't really need one. Oh, it's booted, look. There we go. So we've got no auto config errors now. And the IDE has worked. Let's benchmark that. We've still only got 1 meg chip. That's worrying me. That is really worrying me. But everything reports 2 meg. So, and when this has been running for a few minutes, it does start rebooting itself. So there's something not right somewhere. Seems pretty fast actually. Considering we've got no fast RAM, and that's where you gain most speed when we get the fast RAM. Drives. So this should say LIDE, I think. LIDE.device, hopefully. There you go, LIDE.device. Speed. Probably going to be slow because it's going to be using chip RAM, you know, to do all its buffering and what have you. Yeah, 747K. That's not bad, but I think that'll shoot up exponentially when we get some fast RAM in this. What I don't get is it's weird, isn't it, how the mouse works here with Logica and diagram. The mouse doesn't work. Logica says there's no input detected, which is a little bit odd. Well, at least that's one problem down, and we haven't had to do very much to achieve that. So let's get that on. It's a 1200 build, but I'm just curious to see, does this connector, hang on a minute, yeah, does this connector work? Let's see what happens with that. I don't know, that's not good because both LEDs were on there. It's definitely the right way round. Let's just try it with that again. When I get time, I'm going to modify that darn thing so that it passes the power through. Yeah, that flashed. So, like, why is that not working? I don't know, that's a bit odd. Pin 1 is definitely down here. That's a bit strange, isn't it? I might just leave it connected anyway, even though the activity LED was on all the time, because it's probably a bit like the problem you saw recently on the 600, where if you use one of these on there, the LEDs are all the time. So I don't know, let's just give it the benefit of the doubt, just leave it a second to see what happens. And I guess we could test the IDE LED here as well. Hot swapping it is never a good idea, but there you go, you can see it's flashing. I didn't boot though, we've got no screen. Yeah, so I am sort of tempted now to get the RAM on actually. I know we're waiting for a few resist arrays, we've got this input problem, we've got the chip RAM problem, but I don't know, things might clear up when I get some fast RAM on it. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I could be wrong, but I might just stability test it before I do that actually. Let's just, you know, get a benchmark going, play around with it and just see if it starts rebooting again. Because if I start getting these random resets, then maybe I should try and deal with that before we do anything with the RAM. And actually the next logical step, I think, is going to be to get the Ferrites on the back of there so I can fit a floppy IDC connector. And we'll see if we can boot from floppy drive, because if I can do that, I can boot test kit and maybe check the RAM out. It's just rebooted, by the way. Yeah, it sat there and it just reset on its own. This is the thing, so why is it doing that? Why, after it's, I'll remove the card there and I'll just disable the boot ROM. Why is it rebooting itself? This is a concern. I mean, it could be anything. It could be one of those gals that's glitching when it's being warmed up. It could be the lattice chip that's glitching when it warms up. I mean, sat there, it's not rebooting now. That was after just a quick power cycle. Alright, that's the floppy drive connector soldered on there for the internal drive, and the ferrites there for the port, the external port. So in theory, internal and external floppy drive should work now, unless it needs that 7406. I can't honestly remember whether that's something to do with serial or parallel, or whether, well, I don't even think there usually is a 7406, so you know, there's some differences here. The question is that 7406 needed with the 1488 and 1489? In fact, oh, now I think about it, don't you need the 1488 and 1489 for the floppy drive? Maybe I'm imagining things. There's some relationship there somewhere, maybe. Anyway, let's just try it. Switch it on. I heard the floppy drive. It went. Drrr. So let me go and get a disc. Amiga test kit. Let's get that in the drive. Like I say, I'm sort of thinking maybe I might need a 1488, 1489 on yet. Switch it on again. Now I know that disc works, so yeah, there must be something missing on the floppy drive there. I bet that 7406 is used by it, or one of the serial receiver transmitters. Right, we'll try and eject the disc and stick the disc back in again. Yeah, it's not booting. I've not even looked at the schematics, I'm just going to take a punt and guess we need this 7406 on. Yay, it booted. That was a good bit of detective work, well, not guesswork. And the mouse works here. Alright, let's go to memory. So 2 mega chip, let's do all memory. And it seems to be working there, so like, what on earth's going on with Kickstart? Why when I boot, I will say Kickstart Workbench, when I boot Workbench, why do we get less than a meg free after booting? So we've got a mega chip there and it's testing that, sorry, 2 mega chip and it's testing it all okay, look. No issues at all. we've not got audio at the moment, we can't test serial and parallel. We've got the external floppy drive, I'll test that in a bit. Anyway, let's just go back to booting from IDE again. So still rebooting every now and again. We've got Live 2 Gotta Go Fast RAM here. Let's give that a try. Because I don't get what's using the chip RAM, I moved the Amiga kit thing out of the startup into the root of the drive. So it's not loading anything there. Look, we've still got 648.7K. We've got 0 other RAM, which is weird, isn't it? It's like it doesn't work with Live 2's board. But it didn't say it was bad, which is also very strange. I mean, it could be the address it's using just happens to overlay the 8 meg that the motherboard's providing. Maybe it's been told to shut up. Yeah, just 2 meg chip. It's a mystery to me, this. Which one's that? That's the boot ROM, isn't it, for the IDE? So, I don't know, I'm really confused. Yeah, getting no fast RAM. Alright, I'm going to get the RAM on. It's just one less variable, isn't it? You know, we could have some floating stuff that, I don't know. I can't see how the RAM would be the issue to anything. I just think we need to do it anyway. And then I'll finish off with all the remaining inductors at the back and the 1488, 1489. And that's the build then complete. Anyway, these are going to be a pain to do. The J-leg ones, you know, like the RAM was, you know, the other RAM. They sit more or less. Oh no, there is a bit of space. I was going to say right over the pads, so you can't see the pads, but yeah, there is a bit of clearance actually on these. Yeah, I'm just going to do these one at a time with my magnifier, just so that I can get the angle, you know, vision right. Because with the microscope, all I can do is see straight down. So these J-leg chips, SOJ, that is, or I refer to them as SOAB. To be honest, they're really difficult to solder. I always struggle with them. Yeah, I think that's one side done. Anyway, I'll report back. I've got the other side of that and then 15 more of those to go. It looks like a child has done that work. It really does look terrible. I thought I'd just test it with 4, and I'm thinking about it, there's different routes I could have taken. I could have done 4 this way, 4 that way, 4 that way, because the traces are all joined up this way, so I assumed it was like going to be data bits, but it's not. I think it's address bits. So I think when I do the next ones, I'm going to stick them here, 3 here, and then retest it, just see if I get 4 meg. But we're now getting an error, because it's trying to detect some of the RAM and failing. So we're back to that again. We got rid of this before. I think previously this one was defective, and this wasn't even showing up. Right, another thing that may or may not make any difference at all, 1488 and 1489 sockets on, all the inductors on the back there for whatever port that is, parallel I'm assuming. Anyway, yeah, the thing is, I'm not very confident because we're still getting this resetting thing. When I was testing with Amiga test kit though, that wasn't happening. After doing a RAM test for about 20 minutes and no issues, didn't reset. But one thing I did notice is it was saying there was some spurious interrupts. So something on here is raising interrupts at the moment. So the 1488 is on the right, pin 1 to the right. Remember, these have come from the 500 plus, so the pins are pretty short. But I've straightened them, removed all the solder from them. Those 3 chips are in at the back now. So other than the op amp here and the field and line RAM, we're not missing anything, I don't think. So anyway, I'm going to give that another try. The spurious interrupts might be from the port. It might be serial port detecting something, I don't know. Because you would assume it's probably interrupt driven. You know, like 1 or 2 of the pins on it, so that the serial port can respond to things. And if you've got flowing connections there, because you don't have chips, then yeah, it's possible we could have had spurious interrupts that way, maybe. Yeah, and here's that reset problem that happens after about 10 minutes. It just starts resetting, and the gap gets narrower, 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 narrower. It tells me that it's temperature related, actually. You can see it's just getting more and more frequent. Before we know it, it'll just be going reset, 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 reset. What I need is the SID card in here to get here if it's going ding, 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 but I'm guessing it is. So it could be a problem with the reset circuit. It's a cheap LM339, is that the problem? Maybe the threshold needs changing, because it might be one of these, I don't know how they're doing it. I suspect they're doing it on the 5 volt level. So maybe the 5 volt level's just a tiny bit low, it's like borderline, and then over time it warms up and the devices start to consume a little bit more current and the 5 volt level just drops a tiny little bit, and then we get into this reset scenario. I bet that's what it is. If I had some freezer spray now, I could freeze the LM339 and prove that that's the point. Oh, that's the issue. I mean, I could try and blow the 339. Let's see if I can blow cold air. Everyone apparently says I blow hot air. The 2 resets there, I think. It's resetting more now. Maybe I'm blowing hot air. I didn't blow the 339. Nope, I don't know. I don't know. Why is it resetting? I don't like all these crazy issues we've got with this board. I knew this was going to be hell. I did. I knew it was going to be hell. So far it's not been too bad, but because it could be worse, it could be not booting at all. But right now I've got, well, my RAM's not working obviously, and it's finished the RAM off, but I've got a mouse that's not detected by any diagnostics apart from, you know, the standard software. It won't work with Logica, it won't work with Kickstart. So, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. How can the mouse be working with Workbench and it doesn't work with Diagrom? We've got spurious interrupts. That might be something to do with the mouse. But where else could the spurious interrupts be coming from? We've got this resetting issue that's driving me nuts. I think that's it. Is it 3 issues? I think it is. Oh, and I tested the parallel port. Despite the fact it has all the ferrites on it, it doesn't pass. So I'm like, how can the parallel port not work? Unless maybe the 1488 or 1489, whichever is responsible for that, is not good. If I had some freezer spray now, I could freeze the lattice and go, oh, it stopped rebooting. Stop resetting, you know. And if it hasn't, I'll just freeze the 339 here that I think is doing the reset. Yeah, testing with the FPU there, just to see, is it something to do with reflection? You know, does it need this there? Is it more stable with an FPU? Actually, it gives a yellow screen. And actually, the yellow doesn't look very yellow. It's a different kind of yellow. And I noticed that with the red. The red doesn't look like how it should do. So I actually think this has got some issue on the DAC side, in that the specification of HC chips for the DAC, I think, are wrong. I think there should be HCTs or LS, one of the two. I honestly can't remember what's on a 500 now. But in any case, I think the levels are wrong. So that's something I need to change. No problem. Anyway, I've moved that MELF. I will just reflow it and I'll get the solder off the other pads. So that should now mean the FPU runs at 25. The interesting thing is that FPU is, I think, is stamped at 50. And the other thought I did have, and I saw someone else with ordering a 48 and another board with a 48. I wondered if this was slightly over-spec'd, you know, like stuff from the start. It was like, it runs at 50 megahertz, and then people started using it, it's a bit flaky at 50. Anyway, go down to 48, and then everyone went to 48. It could be one of those, you know, we're back to the, I'm 10 years or more behind everybody else on this. I'm probably 15 or 16 years behind everybody else on this. So there's nobody to ask. There's a few people on, I found another article online, someone else built one. Amiga Love, I think it was it in 2020? So yeah, there's a few people built these. Most people who have built them probably won't have shared that information on, you know, public media. So I'm not on my own here. If you've built one of these, you might be able to answer some of these questions. Yeah, I didn't really need to do very much with the solder points on that MELF. It's already on. Yeah, just from hot air. We managed to move that across. You know, I put a bit of flux on the pads below. So all being well, that should now mean the FPU is a bit happier. It might still not work because I'm not sure the speed of that. I thought it was a 50. It might not be. It could be 16 or 12 or something. So, you know, it might not even work at 25. Yeah, the FPU's testing that alright. We've got some pixelization appearing in a few places here. There and here. I don't know, I'm through the middle of that. So, I honestly don't know what is going on here. There is something not quite right with this, and that's frozen, is it? Can't get out of it now. Right, the right mouse button's now working with everything. And sound is working, but sound is awful. It's so low volume, it sounds terrible. I was measuring the voltage on the op-amp, and on one side you've got like plus 12, on the other side plus 5. It's really weird how they've done it on this. I would have thought you'd use the +5, -5 and then just boost it at the stage with some transistors or something. It's a bit odd to me. But anyway, yeah, so I'm not sure why the volume's not right on the you know, it sounds really noisy. I've got the TV really loud. So we've got a problem there. It could be the op-amp that's dead, it could be a component sizing not right, or I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's a bit confusing. But anyway, the right mouse button's working, which means I can get into Logica and Diagram and go through the various tests there. The other thing is, parts trying to rule things out here. I spent some time looking at the questionable components where on the bill of materials it's like a cryptic number, you know, so there was a few where it said I think it said like 332R2 or something. I was like, does that mean 330 ohms? Sorry, a 33k or something. I'd have 330k. The bottom line is, it was completely different to what you might expect. I looked on the schematics and it should have been 33 ohm, and it was one of the ones under Agnes. There were 3 resistors there. One of them's got a cryptic, you know, a typo with a few extra digits in it. And I'd fitted 330 ohm. It needed a 33. It's just clocks that are coming out that are buffered, not really buffered, but protected in terms of impedance with 33 ohms, so you don't get you know, much chance for reflection and stuff. That didn't make any difference to anything, but it might do to stability, you know. So anyway, I'm very pleased. We'll just see what it's like in terms of stability. It's been running for about 10 minutes now and it's not reset yet. I suspect, and the issue with the right mouse button was a missing ferrite. There's a missing ferrite up here, which I thought was on the audio section. I bet it was feeding VCC to Paul or something, some signal around here, a clock maybe. Because, well, it just seems like we've turned a corner. Not only is right mouse button working, but it seems solid. The video is really good on this. I'm really, really impressed with how clear the video is. So I think, other than testing for stability and getting the remaining RAM on, the audio at the moment is the only problem, and obviously we need to test the amber stuff later. Yeah, I'll show you the audio stuff when that finishes. It's just about to finish. There we go. No issues there. Hang on, filling area with address data. Yeah, it's quite a more extensive test on Diagram 1.3 here. So I mean, I do appreciate this stuff. I wish there was a way to do a short test, long test, and there might be. I could be speaking out of turn here. I need to have a look at the options and things in there. But I quite like the old version of the test as well. It'd be nice if we had an option to choose short test, long test. This being a long test. But I do appreciate the hard work that Chucky has put into this. It is incredible. There's no way I could do half these repairs, half these builds without Diagram. Diagram really is a massive, massive, massive gift to the Amiga community as a whole. Right, the camcorder filled up again. I have had all sorts of crazy issues with this build. I was cleaning on the underside and then I turned it over and this chip was half in, half out. Now let me just show you, push it in. See it pumps back out on its own? Look. Sometimes it sticks in and then sometimes it just ejects itself. So I need to change that socket. That is so annoying. And before you ask, there are no splits around it. It's perfect. I think it's just aged plastic. Yeah, I've inspected around it. There are no splits around it. It's a mystery to me. Anyway, it's the right type of socket. It just seems to have just deteriorated while I've been testing. So I'll be right back when I swap that. I tested every connection on the data address, output enable, write enable. Between these, they connect up like this. These are all in parallel. When it comes to the write enables and the output enables, it's like that pair, that pair, that pair, that pair, that pair, that pair, blah, blah, blah. No shorts, everything's good. Power and ground, no shorts between pins. I can't test any more there. I've exhausted all options. So there were 2 resistor arrays I'm still waiting for. One here, and I've just trimmed that one down. I need another 4K7. It needs to be 5 pin, not this big. And I've got a load of these. I'm just getting impatient and want to expedite the testing here. So I'm going to cut almost in the middle of the pin that I want to trim off. That's the key here. So you do leave, you know, quite a little bit on the end. And then nice and straight. And trim. God, that was hard to cut. That may have cut unevenly. Let me just test that, see if that works. Yay, 4K7, that one's spot on. I'll test the other ones as well, just to make sure. Yeah, I've got some black silicon. You could literally just rub a bit of black silicon on the edge. But you could also, if you were bothered by the end, let me show you, being, you know, a different colour, you could just colour it in with a black permanent marker. No one will ever know. No one will ever know the horrors that will lie on this board. There you go. If you got that, if you looked at that now on the board, I don't think you'd be having any clues. Anyway, it'll do. I do have some proper ones coming on the way. So if it was unreliable or it bothered me, I could swap it out, but I'm not going to be bothered if it works. If it works, I'm not bothered. So this is the last resistor array to go on there, a 4K7 5-pin one. Alright, I'm literally out of ideas with this. So I tried a slower clock speed there, tried 24 megahertz just to see, is this some timing thing, you know, like we're going so fast here that something timing wise can't keep up. Well, 24 does just the same. So I went back to it, and then I put a 50 on here. This has got a question mark on it. This is one of the ones that came off the terrible fireboards. One of the crystals, I thought it was a crystal fault. I don't think there was. There was one of the problems with the 7.4 series. And the socket for the crystal, more importantly. So this crystal came off, and I thought it was bad, but I kept it, and I tested it on the scope 4 years ago, I think now it would be, and proved I think it worked. And then I put it away, left the question mark on it. I thought, well, let's use that, so I fitted that on there. So yeah, it's got some trimmed down resistors on it. It's got a terrible fire 4000 Commodore crystal on there. It's got some electrolytics instead of tantalums. It's got tantalums from Cathars 4000. It's got some sockets and parts from Allison's stuff. It's got some 1% melts on there. Try and find a GBA 1000 that's, well, try and find a GBA 1000, but try and find a GBA 1000 that's got this much personality. This has got bits from everything. This stuff that I'm forgetting about, it's like these things back here. These came from something I salvaged. Yeah, they're a bit fluffy. I wouldn't want to rely on those, but they'll be alright. Once they're connected up, it'll be fine. And it's got the Sparks UK Agnes there that I fixed on my mate Vince's channel with like 5 or 6 pins broke off it. It's got one of these Molex connector series that I crafted with a hole in it that looks perfect. It looks factory, you know, constructed, and it's not. It's been made by me. It's yeah, it's a true Frankenstein of a machine, this. And at the moment it's got the CPU where I wrenched that pin out and I stuck it back in and it's working. So yeah, I'm going to leave that on there. It's just, this board is just such a bodge. Right, so having tested pretty much everything I can, I decided I'm going to remove these first. If that doesn't work, I'll remove the first 4 that I'd fitted on here. Because we had a gal where it wasn't programmed right, which means the output enables and things could have been set wrong. In other words, this could have been outputting, this could have been outputting, could have killed this, could have killed that. Maybe, just in the short period that I was actually testing, while things were not right with that gal. And I programmed up 4 new gals over there, different ones, you know, come from a different seller. Look more genuine, the other ones, they haven't got the boot polish on. So, I don't know. I just don't know, I'm totally in the dark. I've scoped this and everything sort of looks alright, but there's kind of like what you see on the DRD bus where you get contention. And seemingly on both sides, so I'm like, maybe there is some contention here somewhere. Maybe the RAM's bad, maybe the 245s are bad, but the 245s is a bit easier, well, a lot easier than swapping out that RAM. And I only have 4 spare RAM chips, so if any more than 4 chips are bad, I'm knackered. That RAM was just painful to do. Really, really, really painful. And what's annoying is at the end of it, it doesn't work anyway. It's like that's what soul destroying when you spend so long building a board like this. And then the most annoying bit, this is the most time consuming, that makes the most mess, and is the most frustrating, then it doesn't work. At the end of it, you're like, oh, great. That was time well spent. Yeah, so I'm just going to pop in. And then just have a bit of a slow drag here. And some solder everywhere.
Sadness, the anxious and panic, the infinite vastness of all that is black.
And already I'm saying that's not working because it's not looking at the IDE. If it was looking at the IDE, that would be a sign that it didn't have an auto configure. Yeah, look, defective. So, I don't know, it's got to be the RAM. I've just spent half an hour wondering why the audio circuit sounds strange. Look at the op-amp, it's not soldered on though. Oh, I was just measuring, I was comparing right channel to left channel components, and I'm like, getting different readings of the right channel. Why does the right channel sound weird? There we go, that would explain it entirely. You're not going to believe this, after hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, I spent another whole day on this. I just got the brainwave here. I'm going to put the resistor back there. That's not going to give us 25 megahertz here. And it might not give us 25 megahertz here. This is the thing I'm thinking. I'm thinking if we just gone from 25 to 50, and actually it didn't come up with an auto configure, it just worked. So yeah, I think that was one of those things where someone thought, you know, the person designing this thought it was a good idea to add that in. Let's run diagram. You know, have the option to reduce the clock speed, divide by 2, but ultimately that doesn't seem to work. And obviously I've removed the FPU because my FPU won't run at 50. But, I mean, that is crazy. I can't honestly believe how long I have spent faffing around. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Do we actually have any RAM here? I mean, I can clock the FPU independently from that connection, so I need to cut the trace between them and it can have its own resistor. That would work, assuming there is some RAM now. You see, it doesn't detect it there, but it is auto config RAM, so we'd need to go auto config automatic. Hang on, there we go. So it got this far before, and then there's nothing at the bottom, so 0 fast, and then you do complete memory dissection. Oh, it says detected 8 meg. Ah, 8 meg, it's worked this time. Haha, that's it. That was the issue. That was the issue. Oh, wow, that is just crazy. Can't believe how long I have spent faffing around with that. But you see, the thing is, those two resistors are not documented on my revision. Yeah, I've got the manual that ships with, I don't know, Rev 0 or Rev 1. And it doesn't mention those resistors. It doesn't even tell you what size resistor to fit there, I don't think. I think there is a resistor size in the BOM. So then you've got to question, why do we have that flip-flop underneath in that resistor? And I do think, because it goes to the FPU socket, I do think that's what it's intended for. But I think what you need to do is cut... Maybe you need both resistors there. No, but hang on a minute then, how would the CPU be getting its clock? And this is the thing, both the right-hand sides of those resistors go to the same place, so you'd end up having two clocks over the top of each other if you don't separate them. I think you'd need to cut the two pads, you know, so they're not joined together, fit another resistor, and then the FPU will have... Oh, hang on, no, you'd need to cut the trace to the FPU socket. I don't know, I don't really know how that was intended to work, but we've turned a corner, because that is working, isn't it? Oh, I'm so pleased. Let's stick Kickstart back on again, try and boot from IDE. Yes, flashing. Just looking for the floppy drive that's not there. Extended delay. Flashing. Flashing, flashing, flashing. Stop flashing. Looking for floppy drive again, I think. Flashing. Flashing a little bit. Hang on a minute, we got a guru. This is not boding well, is it? It's one of these things where now it's not going to run at 50 after all this. The good thing is though, I socketed the crystal, I don't know if you saw that, we can actually swap to a 48 if 50 doesn't work, and actually I'm thinking 50 isn't working. So yeah, there are some limitations with this. Right, I'll have to go get my crystals out again, swap this crystal back for a 48. I'm glad I got that 48 megahertz one now. Yeah, and at 48 that booted, and it was pretty quick actually. The proof is in the pudding though. Like, how fast is it going to appear here? Oh yeah, that's really fast now. Hey, we got our chip RAM back. We got about 6.7 mega there, and I worked out why I got so little chip RAM. I've got like Picasso drivers on here. What else? the GBA P2 Plus drivers, Janus, and it's like and caching the ROM. All that stuff was going on, which meant we had about 300 odd K left after boot. That is really quick. That is really quick. The IDE is lightning fast. Remember, we're using LIDE, the LIDE drive here. Let's do a speed test first of all. So it's going to come back around 48ish, isn't it? So yeah, 48.4. Look at the performance there. That is fantastic. It's 2.27 times faster than a 3000. Oh, that is really nice. 10.98 megaflops. 10,523 drive stones. So let's go to drive speed. I'm curious to see if we're getting more than 3 meg. I don't know. It feels like we're getting more than 3 meg to me. No, we're not. 2.5 meg. Still, that's pretty good. And you can see we're using light.device. Oh, I'm so pleased. Oh, we're finally there. I can play games and things on it now. Chip speed versus an A600 3 times. That's really nice. Really, 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 really nice. I'm so pleased. So I learnt so much building this. I really did pay slightly more attention to things. Lots of things. Right, I don't know what to do next. I'm that excited. We still have sort something out with the keyboard. I need to build the adapter for the VGA. I need to get the connections, the ferrites on the port here. The serial port, it was failing to pass the test. Now, receive and transmit were not even coming up as green. So I changed the 1488 and the 1489, and then the receive and transmit are alright, but there's still some issues with the serial port. The parallel port needs to get the ferrites on, and I need to get the ferrites on for the composite stuff at the back there. But other than that, and me addressing this thing with the FPU, because like I say, the way things are at the moment now, the FPU is going to run at 50, my FPU won't go at 50. The resistors here, the right hand sides of them are joined together. So, and I think the key here from the RAM side of things is there must be something in the equations there that are based on clock speed, maybe, I don't know. It's strange, isn't it, how 25 would cause it to not work, 50 would work. So I don't know, maybe it's because this is not documented. Maybe I'm just making some assumptions. I don't really know why you would have an alternate position for that resistor. Right, now I've programmed up the flash ROM. I'll show you how to do that in a second. And I've set the jumper on that says use the flash ROM, I think. And you can see we've got no other RAM here now. And I think it's because it's set to use 32-bit. And what I mean by that is it's set to put it in the 32-bit address range, further up the address range into 32-bit space, so that it doesn't overlap with the Zorro 2 stuff. So if I switch it off, I think this is where I need to bridge S8. I think. Yeah, I'm just going to heat the soldering iron up. I'm just going to stick a solder blob over that, and I think that sticks it in the 32-bit range. But you need, in fact, now I think about it, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, it's clear as mud as to what you do with S8. I'm going to unbridge that. I think one of these jumpers enables it to flash the flash ROM there. The other one is when you actually use it. And it boots, I think, before your main kickstart, does something with the RAM, puts it in the 32-bit range or something like that. Now, in order for it to be detected, I found that when I switch this over here, I get no RAM. It's because I've got to do add mem, and you've got to give it, obviously, the range where you want to stick it and stuff, where it's sat. There's an issue, though, that the hard disk access is really slow, and you've got to change the mask for the drives. And what I'm not sure about is if I change that, am I going to be able to use that compact flash card back in 24-bit DMA again? Or is it going to, in 24-bit Zorro 2 range, or is there going to be an issue? So yeah, at this stage, I'm kind of reluctant to do it. I'm going to unbridge S8, and I've just double-checked the manual. Let's say it doesn't mention S8 at all. So, but I have read a few places that talk about S8 is what you use to set the, I don't know, A25 or something. I could be wrong. I might be thinking of S5, which is the jumper that we've just talked about a minute ago there. Anyway, yeah, I'll just clean up around there. I'm just going to leave it without the flash ROM for the moment. I'll still got to jump it up. And we'll just stick with the standard ROMs. We may need to revisit though, because that's going to need 2 meg of Zorro 2. So we could end up only with 4 meg of RAM if we're not careful. So it might make sense at that point to move it to the 32-bit range, and we can keep all 8 of it. But by that time I'll have a compact flash card that I want dedicated to this. The compact flash card I'm using here isn't. It's one that I use for testing lots and lots and lots of different things. Alright, I've got the loop back in the parallel port there. Let's test that. I've got the theory that the serial and parallel port's not going to be right. So like 6, 8 and 22 are a problem. And if we look at parallel, yeah, so that's interesting, isn't it? Only 2 and 3. So you could almost argue, well, I don't know, that's the deficiency with this really, is that serial and parallel ports don't work as they should do. Let's see if we've got any non-maskable interrupts appearing. We don't at the moment. Yeah, I had some appearing here, and that was at a point where, well, we had a few different issues potentially causing that. Timers there look alright. No more interrupts there. Real-time clock is okay. Check the interrupts again. Yeah, so I don't know. The audio, I've got a Burr Brown op amp on here, which thanks to Xavier, maybe become aware of those. They're just much better, much higher quality, you know, sort of high-end op amps. And it works perfectly in here. I checked the pin out first. Xavier came at this, you know, these op amps from the Archimedes side, because the Archimedes needed more clarity and sharpness. And in fact, it sounds more bassy, but I think that's just because of the way the filters have been done on this. I've switched the filter off and on. It's really bassy. But yeah, it's better at the high frequency end, this Burr Brown, not the low end stuff. So yeah, quite like that. I'm going to leave that on there. It just gives this board another bit of, you know, of its own character really. And the Amiga 1000 originally wouldn't have had the filter, I don't think. It would have been like the early 2000. So testing composite here. If I unplug the Amiga RGB, I've got the composite lead plugged in. I think if we choose AV1, it might be AV2. Hey, monochrome composite. There we go. So they've got monochrome composite there for compatibility reasons with Genlock stuff. Isn't that crystal clear? It's incredible. So yeah, composite is working. You might expect it to be colour, but it's not. Yeah, this is what the A520 modulator was for with the 500. By the time you got to the 600 and 1200, you had colour composite. So getting a little bit long again, so I had to bring things to a close for this part. Join me in the next part as we pick up with the serial and parallel port problems. Now, if you've got a clue and insight into this, bear in mind I've fixed it already. This machine is complete as things stand, so please don't spoil it for other people. As you'll see in the next part, we get to the end of the issues with those. There's still some sound issues that we pick up, I think, in the next part as well. And there's a number of other things yet. We are nowhere near completion here, but you know, hopefully it'll be wrapped up into the next 1 or 2 parts, I think. But we did make some good progress. We've now got the RAM working, it's running at the full clock speed. There's still some instabilities, there's still some interrupt issues which periodically appear. You'll see we'll resolve those in the next part as well. We also got the mouse fixed. Still don't, to this point in time, know why the mouse thing was resolved from a ferrite somewhere around Paula. Maybe a clock was not getting out of Paula, or maybe Paula would just have no VCC. That is one of the few chips that I did not check for 5 volts. Anyway, I do hope you found the video interesting. Please like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next part.